but this one was just shorter time span. The other one lasted like a good solid 20 minutes. And again, everybody thinks I have a tinfoil hat. The market coincidentally rolled over 5 minutes into that outage the last time, you know?
It was just, I mean, just brutal, right? So that I didn't think it was like, and I didn't get caught in the last one. I got caught in this one. That's what sent me fucking spiraling yesterday, right? I'm sitting there, and I mean, everything that I had on my, you know, on my the puck on my stick, right? Freaking Goldie's off to the left. I got the whole fucking right side of the net open, and I'm like, what? I'm like, why is this? I'm like, this makes no fucking sense right here, right now, where this thing is going. And then the whole thing just, you know, the up, the down, and through all of it.
Oh, and then it F's you up to the whole rest of the day. It F's you up because now, you know, you're making that up. You're frustrated. You're trying, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And
you're trying
back
to clear your head.
Totally. And then back in the late afternoon, I was looking at it. I was like, this thing's going to freaking flush out, and it just wouldn't go. It wouldn't go. And then it finally went, and it went without me. So, and it was because I had overtraded that freaking outage. Really fucked me up. It was really, really painful. Really painful. What is that background noise? Norse, do you have any idea?
It's definitely not on mine.
It's like somebody else has got a mic on that is not talking.
Somebody's sitting on their mic.
And I don't know if we're live or not, because I'm not seeing anybody communicating.
How do we know if we're live? It's amazing, right? We just leave it all on Lucci's lap, and he's the one complaining. We don't pay attention. Now we have no Lucci yet.
I have no idea because I don't see anybody chatting.
Oh, Norris there. Norris, we are live, guys. They're saying, all right.
We're live, guys.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
There's no commentary coming in here.
Are you in the right room? Refresh it.
The Steamroom? Refresh it.
Yeah, refresh it.
Not the Steamroom. I meant the live stream.
Oh, I don't even know how to access that. I have no idea.
All right, so no clue. Technical difficulties. So on my screen on the right-hand side, there's no, I can't see anything if anybody's posting. So I'm just going to go to the Steamroom. Nothing I can do about that.
You know, talk to the world as a whole. That's all.
Nothing I can do about that. All right. So I'm looking at the solar stocks this morning. The ENPH, like I said, finally is breaking down, and I think that thing's going to be a short again. Sure. But I think what am I looking at here for targets on this thing? Come on, let's go. Like this is bigger picture, but 51.5 is not the worst call. I mean, if you look at this thing on a big picture, like this is where it has come to before and bounced, and it is going to open significantly lower than where it's bounced. That's kind of a different change in character, and it's not just this stock; it's the entire industry that's getting smacked around.
What character is that? Worse to worser?
Yeah. Right. Yes, yeah, for sure. So look at First Solar's. I pick one, right? I think these things are all going to get friggin' whacked. The technicals on them are terrible. The technicals on the SPY and ES, like if you look at the lower end of the expected range for the week on SPY, lines up pretty much directly with the 200-day moving average. Won't surprise me at all to see us get a test of that area. If they want to come in and try and bounce or save it just from it's oversold today, okay, maybe you can catch a bounce, but I don't see anything that's going to save it from at least testing that area. So, I can't see it. I can't see it. There's nothing positive telling us right now that won't happen? Is there something that you see that argues against that or not?
No, I have to agree. Unfortunately, I'm a bull at heart, but I don't pretend to see what I'm not seeing. If you're bullish, there's just nothing. There's nothing that looks good out there. Nothing. I'm sorry, zero. The only thing that, if trying to be an optimist here, is that people are short, right? You got hedge funds short, you got CTA short. So there will be these rounds of violent short squeezes that you can try to play the long side off of. But other than that, it just, there's nothing that looks good. Nothing. Internals are awful. Breadth is awful. Flow has been awful. The crowded of the mega cap names, never a good sign. If there's no action in those same names everybody's talking about, there's just no action, period. And that's never a good sign. So until we see some of that stuff improve, and we're likely going to start to see it off the sweeper activity first, we'll start to see newer names catch action, stuff like that. While they still aren't looking good, so that'll be an early sign. But until we start to see some of these things change, it's just you can't get too excited about anything on the bullet side. But I will say, as far as on the other side, on the bear side, you have to be cognizant and aware of all those things. One, the things Ron Cheryl's pointing out, certain levels, certain areas. I know a lot of you guys paying attention to certain ranges these days where things might find the bid and squeeze, because hedge funds and CTAs are already short, and they're likely going to cover into weakness. And that's what creates those violent intraday squeezes that you really don't want to be in the middle of if you're short. So you got to be careful on both sides.
Those make good opportunities to get short, though.
There you go. Exactly. So that's what yeah. And you have done a good job with certain things like the VWAP, right? Looking for rallies to certain points and then looking for that reshort.
Exactly.
That's kind of the best route to take if you're looking on the short side, because if you're short in a hole, you're asking for trouble.
Agreed. I did find trouble yesterday getting whipsawed by that.
Yeah. Everybody found trouble there, no matter what side. That was trouble all over the place.
Yep. Yeah, it was just a mess, generally speaking.
Yeah. So tell everybody. I know the room basically knows, but generally, what you're referring to is when Powell was the Q&A, basically, of Powell's speech over there, and then I'll leave it to you to explain what went on.
Yeah, I mean, I was just looking at let me get back over to a 1 minute time frame on SPY. I mean, the entire time, all I kept thinking, with everything that they were getting, the news, everything that was coming out, I was like, why is this market? I was like, I do not understand why this market is not selling off. So this is where I shorted yesterday. I caught all of this, and I was looking to get out, and the bid ask spreads weren't moving at all, nothing. And I was like, what in the hell is going on? How can I get into puts here at $1.50? And why are they not $2 right here? And there was nothing. And then the next thing you know, this starts happening. And by the time you get back up to here, then they finally open, for whatever reason, they magically opened the freaking options again. And by the time they did up here, I was down $8,000. I knew I was up. This was a $5,000-$6,000 scalp, and they would not let me out. There was nothing I could do about it. I got up here and I'm like, well, son of a bitch, like I don't have any choice because I'm in the next day's expo, but to cover and look for. And then mercifully, this started, and I caught almost the entire downstream to this. I was down $2,000 at the after, I scraped back the majority of it. And then right here right at the lows, I was like, all right, I'm going to see if they push lower, because I'm looking for the extreme low of the day after getting beaten up here. So my mindset is, fuck it. They're going to fuck with this and push it down. So I rolled, and I short again on this little pop right here, and they just freaking sucked the air out of the room. And then I got caught over trading. I tried to short over in here, and I couldn't hold. They gave the rest of the move, and by the time that happened, this whole little thing had ruined my day, and I never recovered. So that was how my day yesterday went, and it was super fucking painful.
Yeah, I was telling Ranchero, I remember back in I think it was the 2018 correction, something similar to that happening. Same thing, spreads were widening out, people were bringing it up. And then I remember there were outages, literally outages amongst certain firms. I remember Robinhood people complaining. That's what I remember, that they couldn't access their account. And it was like a 15, 20-minute span. And literally, you can't make it up. As soon as that outage happened, the market rolled over. So now you had some heavy selling, and all these, I remember Robinhood players couldn't sell, they couldn't get out. And complaining, everything. I remember Robinhood made some comments, but I don't think anything came out of it. I mean,
no, I mean, it's, there's no other way to say it other than freaking, what's his name in Billions, Bobby Axe, right? It was like, you stole from me. Those fuckers stole from me yesterday.
You got to try to steal it back.
And there's nothing, exactly. So there's nothing I can do about it. Nothing I can do.
Crazy.
Yep.
So hopefully nothing like that will take place. But that was just crazy action in general, violent action, off every word out of Powell's mouth. Every word.
Yeah, just brutal. So yeah, I'm tired this morning. That fucking wore me out yesterday. And yeah, I've got no hat on because I left it in the bedroom. And I did at 3:30 in the morning Hawaii time. I dare not re-enter the bedroom to go look for my hat and wake wifey up at 3:30 in the morning. That would not go well.
Then you got bigger problems.
Yeah, exactly. We got Silver's in here telling us ES has got a nice range. Short 42.96 to 4,300, long 42.78 to 42.80. So that's what he's looking at. I'm looking at individual names today. These solar stocks to the downside look good. Banks to the downside look good. Like, there's technically there's not a lot that's holding these things together. It doesn't, like you said, it's not to say they can't squeeze them. And those are probably the opportunities to look for short.
Yeah, I think either side, whether you're playing the downside or even if you're long only looking for like a needle in the haystack, your best bet's probably in individual names. Because you can get, like Ranchero's pointing out, some of the weaker names will likely stay weak regardless of just the snapback squeezes. And on the long side, it's far and few. I mean, I played one name yesterday, as most of you know, that was that DVA. That was the only name that caught any respectable action worth playing or even looking at. So if we see something like that again, I'll participate. But I would, keep an eye on the VIX and credit spreads today, because if they are ripping, forget about these bounces aren't going anywhere. They may hold it together, kind of like the point Ranchero was making yesterday, where people are wondering why the market's not falling apart because of some, short exposure out there. But you can't find any upside follow through with that invisible hand at work. So a couple of things to keep an eye on.
Agreed. Yeah, there's, I just from a technical standpoint, I don't see anything that helps. So something from somewhere. Maybe we call it a white swan event now. we need a white swan event to fucking save us.
We sure do. And the calendar's light today. Thank God. You have some Fed speak. One of them went off already, Harker, but you got Friday Expo. So that's a shithole fest to begin with, options expiration, monthly options expiration today.
So I'm seeing, look at what Horizon's saying. People saying TradeStation sent out a notice just now that futures intraday margin is being suspended at 1 p.m. due to market volatility. So is there anything happening at 1 p.m.?
No, I don't. know.
Baker Hughes rig count is at 1 p.m. from an economic standpoint, but that's it. So All right, let's take a look and see what we got here.
All right,
Yeah.
Jay, could you hit refresh on the Momo scanner in the
refresh.
and also if you take those flow stats, you see how it says last week. If you set that till today, then you get just the updates for today.
There you go.
Perfect.
Okay.
Let me pull up some ENPH here because if this thing pops up a little bit, I want to consider it for reshorting. I don't think there's anything good on the ENPH. I think there's nothing but sadness.
The smell of death.
Yes, the smell of death clings to it. Got some guys in here asking me about the value of the account. I ground it down to 26.5K. We're going to try to claw that back here today, at least some of it. So I'm not going to be able to trade like I was trading yesterday. I'm going to have to reduce my my size. I'm going to have to look for individual names, and I'm going to have to fucking scratch and slap my way back to an area where I can start looking at taking that size again. So super frustrating to be in that situation, but that's the reality of a small account.
Yeah, definitely. NVIDIA, some same day expo activity calls on.
Somebody called me out for putting Lulu on their radar. Nice work. Good job on that trade. I'm looking at the ENPH puts for today, the 95s. And I'm going to get some of those queued up. But I'm going to wait and so I got to wait a little bit here. I need to be patient about spot picking. You said you saw some NVIDIA come in early here.
Yeah, little NVIDIA same day expo call activity. NVIDIA is what? NVIDIA is down. No, barely, right? Not even down. $1.
Okay, here's this pop on some of the solars. EMPH getting a pop here. I'm gonna look and see where they might come in on this thing. Let's put a little, got a gap there, and then I can now put a VWAP sticker on the open right there. Okay, so now I got to keep an eye on this and see if I can find an entry.
I posted the Tesla changes for some of you guys who were curious about yesterday's action. Here, I'll post it again.
How big yesterday? How big was the loss? It was 14K.
And Netflix.
Well, some people leaving because Lucci's not here. You're not hurting my feelings. Enjoy your day.
Here are Netflix changes. So you got action quiet off the open. Again, you got a lot of rolling October expiration.
Little flush there on Amazon.
Tesla looking weak.
Goldman bouncing. That might not be a bad, on the bounce might not be a bad short idea. Same thing with JP Morgan. All the banks just getting a little bounce. That BX yesterday, I should, some of these ones that I call out, I should just, just not be an idiot and focus on them. Like the BX yesterday, it was a really nice short. NVIDIA getting a bounce, AMD getting a bounce. See, this is what I mean. Like technically, there's nothing that looks good about any of these. So any of these squeezes to me are suspect.
Yeah, you got yields coming in, VIX coming in a little. Hence, something's finding a bid.
Microsoft is starting to crack a little bit here.
Credit spreads look like dog shit off the open. Yes, that Sedge put sweeper I saw, right? News. That's another solar name, by the way, Ronchero. $1 million put sweep yesterday afternoon. I
Oh,
don't know if you
Jesus,
remember
really?
seeing it.
That was
SEDG, yeah.
SEDG. Okay.
$1 million put sweep in the afternoon, and he caught
Oh,
news.
oh, that's robbery from 113.5 to 74. What a fucking move.
God.
What a move. So people are asking me, what's my game short strength? So any kind of pop, in my opinion, and I'm going to ask Silvers in the room. Silvers, let me know if you're in here. I'm looking at pops right now. I don't see any. I don't see any. Right now, I don't see any real buying. Any pop is weak, and like to Jay's point, is probably just squeeze. And I think that those are opportunities to reshort. Maybe you get some pops to some technical areas, and then they're likely going to set up for good shorts. In my opinion, that expected lower move on the SPY, I think, has good probability of getting touched today.
Any real squeeze is going to come from some aggressive selling off the VIX. So keep an eye on that.
I agree. Yeah, and so Silver's in here just saying, and he's been freaking money on the ranges on SPY for quite some time now, and even he's agreeing with me on he's not seeing anything. It's range and range trading on SPY. So, for example, you've got this little gap here to potentially fill. So you either chase the gap or wait for the VWAP. So that's what I'm gonna do. Entry matters. So looking for those opportunities.
CSX has a little strength. Rail play off earnings. A little bit.
Yes, Justin in the other room saying options expiration will cause puts to lose value quickly. Of course it will. Probably a volatile Friday, of course, which is why you've got to wait for an entry. You can't just look at something like this and say, oh, I'm going to short SPY here. Like you've got to use some common sense. You've got to look for some areas where it could potentially check up, right? So we've done that all week. We've looked at expected moves on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. We look at anchored VWAP. We look at Fibonacci's. We look at areas where things can start to change. So we don't just arbitrarily pick spots in the heat of battle yesterday, and when things are very emotional and you don't have a lot of control on the handlebars. Yeah, things get out of hand. That's how it goes. Some days there are days that blow up like that, but I'm looking for these pops as places to reshort. And yes, same day expiration options, if you don't get an entry right, whether it's a put or a call, is going to cost you money, period.
Oh, I see something going around for maybe they're suspending trading in some of those futures accounts because futures closed underwater.
Oh, that's on that toss news.
SPX cash. That could be the reason why, is that? I have no idea. I'm just sharing what I'm hearing some people mention.
The gimbal could toss and turn, tumble off into space.
Let's see, some active lines is all going to be today's expiration. Nothing really too exciting going on there. Let's see.
Semis are getting a bid, yeah. Again, I wouldn't trust it. NVIDIA always the strongest of the group. Very difficult one to short. Q's almost filling a gap from yesterday.
Bank of America, you got some put sweeps out in December. Bank of America bouncing today, I guess? No.
They hit that thing hard with puts yesterday too.
That's down a little bit more today, BAC.
So Goldman here, for those of you that don't like that name, I would keep an eye on where it just touched a high. That might be a nice opportunity for short.
More color from the SLB conference call. Fourth quarter sales growth to be in the high single digits on a sequential basis. Additional color there from SLB.
I got Roku seeing a little squeeze action, but really cheap garbage over there.
Let's see. Be the only one trading within this week. So silver's calling out the Qs. I that might be the better opportunity, and semis are clearly helping the Qs right now. But this pop on the Qs is suspicious to me. VIX down, Dixie down. I mean, look for all of it to just fucking change, right? If it doesn't, it's a squeeze day. That's okay. But I don't trust any of this shit.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's squeezes every day. You gotta pick your spots, you know.
Yep.
Some of us are a lot more conservative in trying to pick those spots. Some of us are more aggressive. Doesn't make you any better or worse of a person, but to each their own, you know.
Somebody asking me where I have my VWAP anchored from on SPY. It's always the opening candle. That's where VWAP is. So you got a gap fill on SPY, and it filled that gap and it yanked immediately. So VWAP it's bouncing off of VWAP. So in between right now, and looking for
the China Defense Ministry
direction.
Thing that they firmly opposed U.S. hyping up the quote China military threat, and they've lodged stern representation over this.
Tell China to shut up.
China, you got TLT, nice little bounce.
Some Apple Bears. Yeah, those TLT guys. Somebody in the room also took TLT.
Yeah, a couple people played TLT.
To me, that's an impossible trade.
It's tough. I mean, look at it. Yeah, people have been trying to buy the dip for a long time in this thing. It's new lows yesterday, so
yep.
There have been bounces, but you don't get out. You're in bad shape.
Hey Jay, can you hit refresh on the flow summary again? It looks like it's not updating. So
why do you got to keep hitting refresh on it?
I don't know. It's not that one below it. The one right next to the squeezometer. That one. Yeah, hit refresh on that one. Seemed like that one got stuck, and then you might have to set it back to the daily time frame. Let's see when it loads.
Hey, wake up the developer.
There we go. Thanks.
There's your pull on Qs.
China Defense Ministry calling on the U.S. to stop any provocative actions that undermine regional peace and stability.
China popping shit. Tesla. Those could be rolling out October puts there in Tesla. Not much call activity that I see early on here. Pretty quiet.
China Defense Ministry saying that they will resolutely defend their national sovereignty, security, and
Blah, blah, blah. China, blah, blah, blah. Like, just shut up already.
They're failing their oaths, Mr. China. QQQ, some puts rolling out. So mostly rolling out here off the open, which is quite common. Friday expiration.
Netflix is still pumping.
Yeah, right. That closed well, I think, yesterday too.
It did. It did. One of the bright spots. One of the bright spots. See how far they get, though. Anchored off of the most recent high that dates back to July. You're at an area where you could start to see some resistance. If they come through and squeeze it, could be good, but might not be a bad spot to consider just a quick scalp to the downside. Once they get to areas like that, they have a tendency to kind of check up, and it might actually not be a bad day to write some premium on Netflix if you're so inclined.
Amazing how bared up they got into that Netflix all the way into the number, and then
I caught a good piece of the downside on Netflix, and then obviously I stepped out of the way. You can't, and I don't trade. I don't trade through earnings, and then that's what changes the picture, right? That's why I always say technicals only give you one piece, and the technicals were telling you one story. Then you get a catalyst fundamental change, and it trumps the technicals. Then you start over.
Exactly.
That's how it works.
Exactly.
Tesla bears here too, huh? Apple and Tesla bears. Let's take a look. You typically don't trade Apple. It's always been for whatever reason, it's always been a difficult name for me to trade. I like where they're taking puts, I can tell you that from a technical standpoint. 200-day moving average down here at call it 170. Bullish divergence on weekly on Netflix too. Yeah, silvers. I agree. And you had that catalyst event. I don't like to say exogenous.
That's my word, by the way.
I like to say catalyst. Yeah, you got to coin it. Dimitri's out here selling Netflix.
Natalia,
that's AI bot. I'm talking Dimitri. Dimitri's got he sold the 412.5 calls on Netflix, 82% IV. I like that play. I like that play a lot.
Teledoc, we saw a little action yesterday. A lot of time you see some short hedging into earnings in Teledoc. Is it squeezing a little?
It is. That looks like that's what I'm talking about when you see a move like that as an opportunity, because you get to a technical area.
Look at this stock. Look at it.
It's horrible. Same thing though. You got earnings on Tuesday, so if you're gonna trade something like this, you probably are interested in just a move for the day and not to try and carry it.
Yeah.
But that's an area where you look at as an opportunity to short because of what's happening technically, right?
Some strength in Bitcoin this morning.
Yeah, that's Coinbase too. I know Coinbase is probably having a good day, decent day. That might be a decent condor now that I look at it. What kind of money can you make on coin? And there's not a lot of premium on either side. Let's see. Coin. Keep up, little computer. Let's go. Let's see. You could look at the 81 strike on the call side and the 71 strike. That's 10 points wide to either side. That's not bad. Let's look at the chart again. So 81 puts you above bigger picture. This bigger picture move from the low of June 6th to the high of July. And then what they did was they brought it. The current range is trading in between two Fibonacci numbers, the 382 and the 0.5. A lot of people will tell you, oh, that's like just a bunch of bullshit. But look right there, there's the anomaly right in your face. Go ahead and argue it. Tell me the world is flat. I will not even listen to you. So there's the range. So if you looked at a condor, 81, and on the downside, 61, like you can collect $2. That's a decent looking condor setup for that kind of risk.
PANW, they report on November 16th. You got Fed puts, opening sweep.
Oh, Fed puts. So then look at crowd and see if you can short that one too. Oh yeah, look at crowd. Looks like it wants to give up here too.
They were strong, these names, right? Yeah,
they had a very nice move, but like all things, they don't go up in perpetuity. You go up, you retrace so that you can go higher from there. That's how it fucking works.
Call sweepers don't seem to have much of an interest in anything here.
Oh, Dimitri, see on that Netflix trade, he wrote those calls, and he's already collected 50%. See, so a lot easier to write off of a move like that than it is to try and short. But if you just play a little scalp right there, that worked out pretty nicely. So using some of these anchors helps you identify areas to look for change. Nice trade, Dimitri. Guys, we use levels in some of these measuring tools to look for opportunity. We don't just trade at those spots. We look at those spots and we say, okay, is there an opportunity and probability here? What is tape telling us? What's the better side of the trade? Long, short, right. So it's constantly juggling. There's no black and white. If there was, we'd just come in here and cash checks every day. Silver's nice put scalp on SPY. He bought the 425s at 211, sold them at 247. That's a nice scalp. Yeah, I don't know if anybody was trading the Lulu.
I hope you had your fun. Now it's the Bears' turn for the next 8 minutes. Like, that's what I mean. You got to get excited about every little move up or down. Your head's going to spin, and you're going to donate money continuously.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see, Cisco, some bull flow, CSCO. Oh, those don't even look bought.
Cisco would be a sympathy play with Palo Alto Networks.
Yeah, I think they report. Oh no, they report November 15th. Actually, it's some call selling in Cisco. They're writing the December 57 and a halves, and they're taking in 800 grand.
Nice.
But overall, pretty quiet out there for a Friday expiration. I'll tell you that much. I don't think it'll stay that way. This quiet.
Like this ENPH, now that it's had this little move higher, I'm not looking to play this week's. I think I would have to play next week's options, but let's look at next week. A decent amount of premium to lay out there for this name.
Yeah, the semis outperforming today, and they looked hideous yesterday. Was it just yesterday? I think that was the worst performing group yesterday. The semis.
Yeah, I mean, obviously big picture, longer term. In my opinion, semis are as ubiquitous as oil. Like those, just generally, when you see bigger picture weakness in the semis, they typically will offer some opportunity for you to get long.
Yep. Got some consolidation since the AI frenzy highs in the semis.
People don't even understand what that is or what the implications are. It's barely the first half of the first inning.
Yeah, all hype it was.
Yeah, but there's some, in my opinion, there's something real about.
Of course, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the run, everybody thinks it's going to happen overnight. They probably crowd in all the big players there, and then they go through consolidation that wears out everybody. And the Qs kind of look like the semis too, right? Just in that same downtrend consolidation, whatever the hell label you want to put on it. Some SPY putsies. What do you got? October 24th, 424 puts. SPY. But, as you guys notice, all isolated sweeps here. They're not really coming after anything, calls or puts, but the flow mostly bearish so far. The regional banks look like absolute dog ass. I could find a way to balance here. They report, though, a lot of these names now.
McBob is saying on the semis, risk on semis is sometime in Q1. We start getting guide downs. That's very possible, but big picture wise, you can't. I mean, McBob, you know this. You can't get out of bed without a chip. You can't. There's nothing you touch on a daily basis 8, 9, 10, 20 times that doesn't have a freaking chip in it, right? So even if they, let's say in Q1 they do, rough up semiconductors, it'll be an opportunity. You'll just be able to sift through and find the best names for recovery and move back higher. Right now, the strongest name in the group is NVIDIA, right?
Well, that's on its own island, NVIDIA. I wouldn't even put it with the rest of the semis. By the way, the only thing that's looked good is gold. And higher again today.
Yeah, I mean, you've called that out again and
Yeah,
again.
ask me how much money I've made on it. Ask me that. No, but a couple guys in the room caught it, so I'm living vicariously through them.
Yeah, gold up. I mean, that just see these cues are weak.
Never risk on, is it? Gold up. I remember one time gold rallied with risk on groups. That was once in my career. I remember that.
I used to try and trade the big gold contract in the overnights.
The futures contract?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I used to do okay on that type of trading. That was back in the day when I was trying to work a 9 to 5 and still
Oh,
find
jeez.
ways to. So I was trading gold. I was trading bonds to try and build up the account. I can't trade that stuff anymore.
So far, the market hanging in there, though. There's nothing.
Yeah. Has not given any opportunity as of yet. Just scalps. Just scalps.
Schwab, some more puts. Small put sweeps in Schwab, November 50s.
Wait till we invade Iran. Yeah.
Wow.
That's a mess I don't think anybody wants a part of. So if you guys are looking at my chart, that white line on the Qs is the VWAP. I anchored off of that most recent little spike higher. So it's got, some battling. I don't see a whole lot of edge here, at least not yet.
Upgraded to hurricane strength.
Hurricane season's not over yet? Not yet, right? I remember we got hit with Sandy. I think that was November or end of October.
Yeah, it depends where you live, right? Like where you live, it used to be November. As it gets, warmer, I think your hurricane season could be every bit of all of November.
Yeah.
Out here, it definitely goes to November. But all of our little storm patterns have changed. So now storms are coming out of instead of them coming from like South America along the equator coming our way, those are the ones that hit Asia. Sometimes Hawaii catches a little piece of it. And then the storms that come out of the north, like from Alaska, the reason the surf gets so nice is you don't get any of, obviously, you don't get any of the cold or the rain. But what you do get is waves, because there's nothing stopping that action until it gets to us. There's nothing for thousands of miles until it gets to Hawaii.
Yeah.
And then tourists from places like Nebraska and Iowa try to go out in the water, and we got to fish them all out and revive them.
Yeah. AEHR wants a hot name, catching a little action, November 35. AEHR. Looks like a bounce play there. When do they report? Did we say here? They reported already, so no earnings day. Straight up bounce play. AEHR up a little bit already, up a buck.
Someone asking, I see crosses on bid ask for SPY. Does that mean anything to you guys? If you're trying to read tape on SPY, it's pretty hard. Even Lucci really doesn't read tape on SPY, but just looking at SPY, I said that it looks weak. The Qs are showing some resilience. It's a laggard with SPY breaking down, so I might look at Qs as an opportunity to follow suit delayed. So that's kind of where my headspace is at right now. I'm going to take some Qs actually. The ENPH is not giving me any clear daylight to work with, but the Qs.
Police there saying a heavy object was found in the vicinity of the gas pipeline damage.
What?
Updating on the pipeline story from earlier this week.
Sun Power beat up Solar Name, some more put buying in the name. November
What's that
3rd.
ticker?
Again, in the last several weeks or so,
SPWR.
both Swedish and Finnish governments indicate potential sabotage to their pipelines.
Silver's calling out 332 put sweep on the Qs. Yeah, an expected lower move is 325. So Silver's, I've got some of the next Monday. I'm not trading today's expo. I'm looking at next Monday's 359 puts. It is, for the moment, Qs are hanging in there. $10.31, 332s. That's a pretty significant move, right? Those could also be hedges for big tech reporting next week. Yeah, I agree with you, Silvers. It could be, because next week is the big dog week.
Jeez.
All right, I got some of these next week 359 puts from 276. So I'm going to have to just sit here and be patient. But SPY is headed
Speedometer up a notch. What's to put the call up down? I mean, yeah. VIX bounce back again to morning levels, highs. Hence, equities selling a little bit here.
All right, I'm just messing around with 10 lots here on the Qs. Looking for it to catch up to SPY here a little bit. I think it's going to come and test the lows. And Silvers, what do you, I don't think I marked anticipated move for the day on Qs. Do you have that? Or Peter, did you guys post it already? You probably did and I missed it.
You got some repeat buying and puff pass. The silver miner. Nice chunk here. 4,000 Jan 17. They report on November 7th. I don't know if it matters. I don't want to jinx anybody. It's a minor, but I got screwed in minor earnings once before. Many of you know.
Zach, thank you. For Qs, lower end of the band, 355. 355. Let's see if I can find that. $355.5. Let's look at 355.5. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Peter. So 355.5 gets you
More from this SLB conference call saying they do expect strong free cash flow in the fourth quarter. Sierra Lima Bravo. Stocks coming under some renewed pressure here near the lows of the day. 42.56 in the S&P cash market, 33,270 or so in the Dow. VIX north of 21, up another
What?
slightly lower on the day currently.
He's high.
All right, a little quiet here for the moment. If you're just tuning in, bar side, only sweeps even worth mentioning: Puff Puff Pass, Repeat Buyer, Miner, and AEHR. On the put side, a few things, handful of names, catching some isolated put sweeper activity. Bank of America, a couple of tech names. ETFs, a little dabbling.
Little dabble, do you?
A little dabbling, yeah.
All right, there's your machine gun fire.
Yeah, little mini sell program there. Looks like in the Qs.
Sang Lucci OG followed him back in 2012 when he was killing it in Priceline. A lot of us made a lot of money in Priceline back in the day.
Priceline. Booking now.
Yeah.
VIX new highs of the morning. Credit spreads, again, look like absolute dog shit.
Do we anticipate new lows for the day? If
Aren't we at new lows? What do you mean? Oh, new lows for the market as a whole?
yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we're looking at because of the technicals, right? And there's no good news helping us here.
Yeah, should get
There's a
tested.
nice spike down on the Qs. So these puts working quite nicely. So that's in my book, after the shit show that was yesterday, that is a victory. And I still think we're going lower on overall. You heard the expected lower move on Qs. Yeah, obviously you have both sides. I lean towards the downside. Why? Because there's nothing helping us in the technicals are busted. So we just had somebody post, Zach in the room posted the expected moves. So the high end of the range on the Qs, 364.39, and the low 355 and a half. And I was looking for opportunity to short. That's been my view because of the technicals and the news that's swirling around out there. I thought Qs offered the better opportunity compared to SPY because they were holding up the semiconductor names. At some point, they're going to give up. So you got Qs as a laggard. You got SPY looking like it wants to go to the 200-day moving average at 422.35, acting like a magnet. So if you haven't shorted SPY yet, you still have room, but now it becomes very sketchy for you to try and enter. Silvers, thanks for the shout out on the Qs. And here come more Apple Bulls.
November 3rd. That's an earnings bet. Earnings 11.
So, Peter, did you see what Peter just posted? Katie put out a tweet this morning saying the ES is going to have to go under 4250 or above 4500 to find resting paper. One of these will trade. I think it's to the downside, Peter.
A little more adding
$42.50 is quite the move, guys. But I don't disagree with it. your cues. Dipping. And by the way, Peter, I think most of us are going to be reporting to Silvers here on Monday morning to line up to be his intern. Only 24 points away. Yeah. On the ES.
Got an
Bob, I
Apple
can't.
buyer targeting earnings here. Earnings
I don't
on
know what.
2nd.
On what day?
November 2nd, Apple.
Gotcha. McBob, I have no idea what that chart is that you posted. ENPH is still holding. Chris, I agree, which is why I kind of bounced over to the Qs because I saw opportunity in the Qs. Now I'm just going to go ahead and clean up some of this cash here. I got a stack of. So I just sold the Qs. So that's a little $500 scrape. I'll take that. And I'll look for another opportunity to short this thing again.
Bank of America, some more put buying.
Because I don't think the upper end of the range on Qs is achievable today. So where do I want to be short on the Qs? I want to see if it comes back up into this area. And I want to look again. But you're at where the lows were from the morning. This might not be a bad spot, but conservatively, I've got to consider this as an entry. This could just be a little anomaly right here.
Look at that Bank of America puke.
BAC, Ron, not BOA. Good God. I considered puts in this. That's a shoulda, coulda, woulda for sure. Goldman, I thought puts would be a good idea. It is. Still think that's going lower. BX still giving it up. The CNPH, Chris, to your point, I think that today they probably fight and try and not give away easy money. I think you have to use next week's, and I think you have to be willing to hold it. So if you're not comfortable with the premium, put on a spread to reduce the cost. That would be my thought. But I think
More
ENPH is going lower. Schwab puts. Here go your banks.
To drilling in 2024.
All right, guys. So we slowly claw our way back out of the hole. I can't trade like I had been because of the account balance. I've got to build this thing back over 30, 32K if I'm going to start taking big pokes. Trust me, all I wanted to do on these Qs was short with size. I desperately wanted to take 100 lot. You can't do it with the balance when you grind it down like that.
They're coming after these financials here a little bit.
Yeah, these Qs are gonna roll over again, in my opinion. 355s for next week, trading at $1.63. I might buy some of these and just stick in there on them. Silvers, you agreeing with me? Any pops up, we're reshorting. What don't you think? Why don't you fund the account with more? Going to be some big opportunities coming. So, Keith, you don't know my big picture. And the reason that I'm trading a small account live is because that's what the majority of traders who are trying to come into our business work with. So how else are they going to learn from somebody like me if I don't trade their reality? Does that make sense? And if I explained my big picture, it would make your head spin, and you wouldn't be able to keep up. So what I'm trading, and I'm trading live, is real, and it's what other people's realities are. So that's more pertinent than me coming in here and pulling out my unit and putting it on the table so that you can have a look. That's not going to help anybody.
Mini unit. A little more spy put action coming in.
Yeah, and in silvers, I'm looking at that lower range on the Qs. I think they've done a nice job holding the Qs up. That's why I think it's got, when it flushes, going to have a little bit better of a flush out than the SPY, right? So let's just re-engage on next week's. I like that lower end of the range on the Qs. So I'm going to look for, I want opportunity short. Let me anchor off of the low so far.
And the Dow down about 200 points now. The S&P at 42.47, down 30 handles. Continue to probe new lows. Treasury yields are firming. Treasury prices are firming. Yields are backing away from the recent highs. 4.93 now in the U.S. 10 and back below 5.1% in the U.S. 2-year.
All right, so I got a little 10 lot. I added a little 10 lot on the Qs for next week. I took the 355
CSX CEO saying that they're starting to see signs of optimism
puts.
in the chemical sector.
So I will look for
Actually, the CEO on CNBC.
the strike and the time. I will have to give myself a little bit of patience, but this little area right here, 357.77, is of interest to me. This little spike looked like a little stop hunt real quick. So this little area is of interest. If it doesn't flush out, I'll probably just scratch and wait and look to re-enter it again. Let me switch. I do have this on a 2-minute time frame. Let's see if I can look at this on 5-minute. Top of the day, VWAP. 30-minute. I mean, there's just nothing good here in these Qs. And if they do pop it up, it's more than likely some kind of an anomaly.
Oh, yeah. 2 times also.
Sorry, I'm rambling.
What? You talking to me? Oh.
Yeah, you were talking to Silvers, and I was just
no.
I'm
He
just
posted
rambling.
something I was commenting on. I wasn't. Don't worry about me.
Monster Fix block is finally 2x for December's. Wow. Horizon going after the banks. I think that's smart. The regional banks.
Horizon loves the banks.
Yeah.
He loves showing those banks.
See this little move in the Q. See how these Qs just can't. Now anyway, they can't catch any kind of spike like this one that you see here. Any kind of spike, if that doesn't have follow through and continue, very, very suspect. very suspect, right? So then you just, like, anything that you get in from here, we caught a little trade here, took some profit, waited for this, and then this is starting to break down again. There's not much here to help. There's not much help. I can anchor off of this spiky candle right here. Take a look. Okay, so that area, 357.79. I'll put it on this spike. Come on, paint it. There you go. So similar spot, 357. Like these are spots where I don't think there's any buyers. I think it's just stop hunt, clearing out the book so they can bring it lower. That's my opinion.
Significant skin clearance, and first of its kind perspective, a large-scale study dedicated to people of color living with plaque psoriasis. J&J.
There you go. There you go. So you see how this little spike right here, this was definitely a trap, definitely a squeeze to clear out so that they could do this.
More from the SLB call saying it's too soon to comment on the size of any potential opportunity in Venezuela after the U.S. easing of restrictions.
That's Schlumberger. All right, so quick update on the internal credit. Again, spreads aren't looking too hot this morning. VIX finding a little trouble at yesterday's highs, I think that is. See if it busts through that to the upside. Yields not really a big factor here this morning. And credit spreads I follow more than yields anyway. And you had dip buyers off the open. That's why the put the call is down on the day. So they're getting screwed, actually.
Interesting that Bitcoin made such a strong move, and then you look at a name like Coinbase, and it can't do anything. Can't get out of its own way.
Really? Yeah, and those things were highly correlated once upon a time. Now they don't give a shit.
I mean, that's just, if you're trying to trade Coinbase based on Bitcoin moves, it's just punishing you by not doing anything. It's just sitting there.
Yeah, a lot of these stocks have just been sitting there doing nothing, dead, no interest. You see any news on PANW for the weakness? No. Wait, you're saying weak today? As a group? Roger, were you saying something happened as a group? Why are they weak?
Oh, so I looked, you said you saw some activity on
there was a big
Palo Alto
push
Networks
this morning, yeah.
So what my commentary on that was, well, if you don't want to play Palo Alto Networks, there are other ones to look at. For example, CrowdStrike. I said it's had a nice move, and on the daily, look at, they opened it below the 8 EMA, so a move down to the 21 EMA makes perfect sense to me. If you traded that, that's kind of your target zone. On Crowd, look at the other defensive, the cyber names like Cisco. They consider a cyber name that looks very weak, and that looks like it still has, that looks like a laggard, has potential to catch up. There's your Palo Alto Networks. That's a problem technically. That's broken. And if they're buying puts and it's technically broken, it's usually a good sign, right?
Yeah.
The 50-day moving average looks like a good spot. That also, from a technical standpoint, if it catches this area and this area holds, not a bad place to consider for a pop. If it doesn't hold, further flush.
Yeah, it could be Keith, could be they're smoking some of these bulls out of holes they were hiding in. You know, these have been strong names: Paolo, Crowd.
Okay,
They've
so
had nice runs. So
here's your cues continuing to move down.
like Apple, all these big names, just they've been hiding in big tech names. This, in my opinion, a true correction doesn't come to an end. Right? You don't get to where you need to be until they hit these. You know, they can't be anywhere for these people to hide, and they've been hiding out in these things for ages. Now, granted, you had a huge rally. If you were waiting for them to get smoked out, you would have missed out on that. But bear markets don't come to an end until there's a cleansing everywhere. Oh, no news. I didn't see any news. I didn't see any news. But again, that's me. I didn't see any new news. No problem.
More of the machine guns going off.
Yeah, you got another sell program here in the queues.
Yeah. This is kind of what I was looking for. So we're gonna, we're gonna slowly scrape it back.
I think VIX, did it break the highs? Not yet, right? Right there. Well, I got a line chart on VIX. I don't even look at a real chart.